Good morning, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them, I am blessed by you, and I thank you for keeping your divine appointment. You see, you all are here by divine appointment. Sometimes I might, in my human capacity and consciousness, I might say, oh my goodness, it's summertime, people are out and about. Will they come to church? Will they remember to come and be a part of the collective energy that is gathering for a high purpose? And then I remember the truth, that every soul that comes is here by divine appointment, that there's something in your own being that called you to this time and to this place and for this purpose, and that we never are out of order. We never can miss our good. We are never in the wrong place at the wrong time. For wherever we are, it is always the right time and the right place, because we're in the midst of the presence of God. We're in the midst of the presence of good. But I'm grateful and thankful that we have been called collectively today to be here, and that you've said yes. So yeah, you can give yourselves a hand. Matter of fact, I need the energy to raise up a bit. Why don't you all stand up and give yourselves a standing ovation? You deserve a standing ovation today. Yeah. Yes. Doesn't it feel good to give yourself a standing ovation? To acknowledge, you know what I mean, the good that you are. And yeah, you deserve that sometimes. We don't have to wait for other people to acknowledge and affirm us. Right? That we can say, you know what, God, I'm good. I'm all right. It's okay. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I didn't need no one else out here, because if we're always waiting for someone or something to be right, to be perfect, to fit into, before we feel that we're right, well, we'll be stressed out, disappointed, right? Always on edge. No. You give yourself permission to be yourself, because God has created you. Give yourself permission to play full out in your own life, to show up as only you can, because you're one of a kind. You're one of a kind. So I'm delighted to show up today as myself, fired up and ready to go, and I give myself a standing ovation. Yes, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Now, we are continuing this morning with our series on source and synchronicities. And we are learning the value of syncing our consciousness with the source of all being, which is what? God. We are learning how to sync our consciousness with the source of all being, which is God. And we talked previously in our series, we talked about the power of syncing and linking ourselves up with healing, the wholeness of God, so that we can bring forth healing and wholeness and well-being. We talked about the power of syncing and linking ourselves up to the divine, so that our relationships begin to reflect that sense of connection, not only to God, but with other people on the planet, and how we can bring healing into our relationships. And certainly those two topics, healing, relationships, they can lead us to to the sense of living a good life. But at some point along our journey, we want to not only live a good life, but we want to live a fulfilling life. You know, because sometimes you can live the good life. You can have lots of houses and cars and all that stuff. But you might not have that deeper sense of what? Fulfillment. So we want to not only live a good life, but we want to have and live a fulfilling life. A life that not only is successful, but a life that enables us to offer help and support to others as well, right? And a life that enables us to make a significant contribution to life. We all want to contribute something worthwhile to life, right? We want to offer our best. And, you know, because if you think about it, when you reach a certain level in life or achieving some of your own personal goals and desires, the next thing is this call for you to want to reach out and connect and touch and help and support and, you know, do something for others, right? In fact, if you think about it, most people who have accumulated a vast amount of wealth, I'm not talking about a lot of money, but wealth. When they've accumulated a vast amount of wealth, they usually end up sharing a great deal of it, right? I'm thinking like, you know, well, you know who those folks are. But they usually share a great deal of it maybe through foundations or setting up a foundation or giving donations to worthy causes. It could be your Warren Buffetts and all, you know, all those folks. But they feel compelled almost to give a portion of it away. It's like this urging to give it away. Unless, of course, you find those folks who are consumed with greed and maybe even disconnected on some level of their consciousness from their hearts or from a certain sense of meaning. So you find those people who will be hoarding and just trying to, all they're about is getting more and more and more. It's all about taking in. It's not about giving out. It's not about touching the compassionate part of themselves that causes them to instinctively and innately want to share. We take it in, we give it out. There's a flow. Except for when greed and people are caught up and the heart is closed and the mind is closed, then there's just a one-way taking it in. But you know, after a while, you can take it in and take it in and take it in until it destroys your being. Because there's a natural flow of what? Of taking it in and moving it out, and taking it in and moving it out. That is how wealth, or that is how life flows. There's a flow, right? But when you have greed, you want to hold on to it and you block the flow. Jesus said, they that have even more than they have, shall they be given, when there's a flow, right? And he used that example when he was talking about the talents, and he had given the talents to 3 people. One, he gave 1 talent, one he gave 5, the other he gave 10. And then the guy who had the 10 talents, he doubled his, and you know, he invested it and increased it and shared it and gave it and expressed it. The one who had 5 did the same thing, and it grew. And the one who had 1, he took it out of fear, and he buried it. He wanted to keep it. There was no increase, there was no unfoldment, there was no multiplication. If you want to increase anything in your life, give it away. That's one of the spiritual secrets of how the universe works. So there's a natural, when we are connected to the divine, when we're connected to something good, whatever it is that we get, even if we amass a great amount of it, that's fine, it'll come in, but there's also a sacred flow of giving and receiving and taking it in and sharing it out. And when that flow is not present, you all know that that person then is closed off to that divine connection. Abraham Maslow, he put the need for self-actualization at the top of his hierarchy of human needs. Because there's a part of the human soul that needs a sense of meaning and fulfillment. And basically, self-actualization is about the need, he says, to have and experience purpose, meaning, and the realization of inner potential. Now, he's using the word the realization of inner potential as the having met and experienced inner potential, right? So this whole thing of self-actualization is having an experience of purpose, an experience of meaning, and the realization or the fulfillment of inner potential. And I love that the daily word was on potential today, and I had not seen that until just now. And so his work, although it was primarily psychological, I also believe that there's some spiritual energy and quality to this whole sense of being self-actualized. Because when the self is actualized, that is, when one is at the top of one's game, when you're at the top of your game, if that self is at the top of its game, having realized a great deal or fulfilled or touched or manifested a great deal of one's inner potential, I would say that soul must be in touch with the God energy within. If you're coming across somebody, a soul who has fulfilled one's inner potential, then that soul had to be in touch with the God energy within, and that they have somehow amassed a good amount of spiritual power. Spiritual power. To be self-actualized means self-fulfilled. You fulfilled what is within the self. Now, spiritual power, of course, is never about power over someone. We all know that in truth, right? But it is actually power within oneself, not over a self, but within oneself, to actually master your own inner realm of thought and energy. So when the soul is self-actualized, there's a spiritual, you're in touch with the spiritual power that enables you to master your own inner realm of thought and energy. We've been created and given the power to create, to produce, to transform, to heal, to bless, to renew, to restore, and to draw forth from the substance of God. Right? That's a power of us that we've been given. Creation, production, blessings, manifestation, transformation, healing, all of that. And we've been given the power to draw forth from the substance of God. And the stronger your connection is to the divine, the greater will be your manifestation. The stronger your connection to the divine, to the source, the greater will be your manifestation, your expression. Jesus as the Christ, he could transfigure himself, meaning, at the transfiguration, he was able to change the molecular structure of his body so that his body glowed with spiritual light and energy, that you could visibly see it. He was able to, of course, to heal all manner of sickness and disease. He could produce enough food, manna from heaven, to feed over 5,000 men and women and children from what? From a substance of fish and bread. Could multiply it through his own thought process, through his own inner being. And of course, let's not forget the power that he was able to express or with his own being, transcending life over death, right? Moving into, now that's some spiritual power, is that not? That's spiritual power. That's strong power. Transfiguring the body, changing. That means you can change the molecular structure of your own physical being to bring about what? Healing. Also be so healed within your own being and vibrating at such a high level that you might even cause others to be healed in your presence. Whether they touched you, touched the hem of your garment, listen to the spoken word you get when you said be healed or get up and walk, that vibration coming from you is so powerful, so strong that boom, 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 you get it. And sometimes we think that that's only what Jesus could do. That's not true. That is not true. We can touch that same source that he touched. That same presence, that same power that is within him is within us. Only maybe he believed it and we didn't. We don't. But now is the time. We need to step on into that. Now is the time that we are here for this divine appointment, being on the planet at this time so that we can step into our own potential. And I love the definition they had of potential. It is the inherent capacity for coming into being. What is it that you want to come into being in your life? What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? What do you want to create or produce or manifest? Aside from having the faith that you can do it, the question is, are you really so deeply connected, consciously connected to the presence of God that those things, your desires, your intentions, your wants, your needs, that those things come winging their way to you, into your life? What are you doing to bring your dreams and your desires to life? You've got to bring them to life. Are those things that you desire, are they a part of your purpose? A part of how you really see yourself having, doing, being, or are they just a passing fancy? Either way, it's okay, because sometimes we have different levels of wants and desires. Sometimes it's a passing fancy. I was coming home yesterday, I said, oh, I want some chocolate ice cream. Now, that might not be connected to my divine purpose. It was a passing fancy, but nonetheless, I wanted it, right? So what I'm trying to say is, yes, we can have those, we need to have those things that are part of our purpose. But we also might have passing fancies. But here's the thing. Whether it is part of your purpose or it is something that is a passing fancy of yours, whatever the case may be, whether the dream or the desire or the goal is big or whether it's small, it's still, you must still touch that aspect of creativity that brings it to life, that brings it into manifestation. Because it all has to do with touching or maybe matching, I like to say, matching the internal or the eternal vibrations within the field of limitless possibilities. Whether you are holding for something big or you're holding for something small, it doesn't matter to God or the universe. Because the process is what is all important. Whether you are tuning in and touching the internal and eternal vibration within this limitless field of possibilities. And the field of limitless field of possibilities is simply the realm. It's within the field of God's substance. God's substance. God's stuff. God energy. God's substance. The substance of God is simply the essence of God that stands behind, of, and back of everything. It's what creates, it's out of which we take that energy and creation comes into being and manifestation. It's the creative energy of God. Whether we're going to create something big or small, we must touch on some level that energy. Now, it's been said that everything that ever was or ever will be is already created in God. Everything that, there's nothing new under the heavens. Everything is already created in God. Some of it's not discovered yet by us, but it is already created. That process of everything being created by God, in God already, is called involution. Involution, right? All creation is involved in and through God's mind. And we, however, are the ones that bring forth whatever is involved in creation, in God, in the universe, is already there. We must be the ones who evolve it. We bring it out. Evolution is a process of bringing out that which already is in God. So evolution is the expressing or the unfolding of what already is. And when something is expressed, it is the expressed. X means out of. So when it's expressed, it's a pressing out of God. We get to press out of God what already is what? In God. Follow? So evolution is our work. It is bringing forth whatever is created in God, those divine ideas. We evolve it through our consciousness. It is created in God and evolved through us. It is evolved through our consciousness. It is evolved through our conscious direction of thought. Our conscious direction of thought. That is how we evolve. That is how we bring something into being. There are other things like faith and belief and all that, but I'm talking about now just laying hold of it. Mr. Fulmer used to say, you got to lay hold of that divine idea, which means touch that idea, touch the vibration of it. This is what Charles Fulmer said in some of his writings, speaking about power and this whole process. In Keep a True Lent, he says, man is the power of God in action. The power to control his thinking is the highest gift given to man. There is a universal creative force that urges man forward to the recognition of the creative power of individual thought. In other words, he's saying that man is the power of God in action, and that our power is this ability to control our thinking, and it's the highest gift that we're given, to recognize that creative power, to recognize the creative power of individual thought. There's power in your thought. Spiritual power, creative power. There's power in your word. You know, you can speak a thing into being. And you can think a thing, but it's beyond this. I'm not talking about natural thinking. I'm talking about thoughts that come from on high, touching creative, divine ideas. Okay? Those things are creative. He also says this in Jesus Christ Heals. He said, God is power, man is powerful. See, God is all that is. God is not powerful. God is power itself. And as it is what? Evolved through us, we become what? Powerful. Full of the power that is of God. But God is not full of power. God is power. It's in power or health or wholeness or abundance or peace or joy or imagination, any of the power that's already involved in God. The moment it comes through us, love is involved in God. God is not loving. God is what? Love. But as that love moves through our being and flows to us, we become what? Loving. It's very powerful. It's the co-creative aspect of how things come into being. So we have access to all that God is, and when it is involved, expressed through us, that power then gets unleashed and expressed in our lives and in our affairs. So he says, God is power, man is powerful. God is that indescribable reservoir of stored up energy that manifests no potency, whatever, until set in motion through the consciousness of man, yet possesses an inexhaustible capacity that is beyond words to express. Now, did you understand what he's saying there? He's saying that God is power, man is power. God is the indescribable reservoir of stored up energy that it says that manifests no potency. That the energy is all present. It is. It's not doing this, it's not doing that. It is. It becomes potent when what? When we set it in motion and move it, draw it forth into our being. Then it begins to manifest as a particular thing when we set it in motion through the consciousness that we are holding. So it doesn't have potency. It is everything. It is all power. We draw it forth. Then he says in Jesus Christ Heals, he says, we exist right in the midst of forces that would yield us power to do all our work if we knew how to conserve and properly utilize their energies. So whether it's love, whether it's harmony, whether it's balance, whether it's wisdom, whether it's illumination, it all is, and we are in the midst of the forces of whatever it is, the force of love, the force of peace, whatever. We are in the midst of it, and it says that would yield us power to do all the work that we needed to do if we knew how to conserve and properly utilize their energies. This is not only true, he says, of our use of the many elements in the natural world all about us, but it is especially of our utilization of the energy generated by our minds. If we could, he says, utilize this dissipated energy constructively, it would restore the body, illumine the mind, and establish us in a lasting consciousness of dominion and mastery. If we knew how to utilize it, how to access it, how to acquire it, how to bring it from that pure potential state so that it actually comes into being in us and in our lives and in all of our affairs. And lastly, Sue Sicking, who is a master metaphysician of the olden days, she was my minister's minister, Eric Butterworth's minister. She said that the true power of the universe is every man's inheritance, and it remains concealed within him until he discovers it, uncovers it, and consciously uses it. We have the power of the universe right here, in hand, at hand. But we must uncover it, right? And we must do what? Use it, utilize it. Now, I read all that just to say that the power to create the life that you desire is in your hands. All of your dreams, your goals, your hopes, your desires have already been created. Already created. Let me hear you say, already created.
Already created.
It's already created. You think you got a new idea. That idea is already created in God's mind. You think you have a new desire. It's already done. It's already created. Those ideas are just waiting for you to link up with their existence in consciousness. To link up with your ability to see it and to feel it and to vibrate to its level. This is the secret of creation. It already is. We just need to link up, you see? Link up so that when we're in a certain vibration, you know, those ideas come. You could be a scientist like George Washington Carver. You know, he linked his mind. Same thing with Albert Einstein. Not with what was, but the potential. They understood how to bring things into being through the potential. And once they linked up with the divine potential, those ideas, they created a channel. All of a sudden, the ideas came. There's a flow, there's a synchronicity that begins to happen. This is real stuff, folks. And all of a sudden, when the synchronicities come, the ideas come, do this, go here, have this. You're in that flow, you're tapped in, and the universe begins to express to you and through you. And then you press it out, you express it out, you move it into action. You see, you can have a passing fancy if that's your desire, but you really can't afford a passing thought. That is a thought that just passes through your mind and then you think it's going to manifest. That can happen, I should say. It is possible for that to happen, but that's when you are existing on a high vibration, such a high vibration of spiritual power and mastery that when you do think and that thought does come, it manifests because your vibrational level is already at that level. You understand? So it can happen, but unless we're there, then don't think that any thought you have. The thought has to register. The thought has to, you send it out on a different vibration. You have to be with that energy. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, I told you, I shared, we laugh when my mother and I play cards, and sometimes Cynthia and I play. We had the three of us would play together. And Cynthia and I, we'd be working it. We'd be, okay, Lord, bring this thing here. You know, she's like, oh, you shouldn't be, praying over the cards. And I'm like, and then we get good hands, and she's like, wow, why did I get? Because we're vibing it. I'm setting out that vibration. Give me some aces and some kings and some queens. Why not? If you can produce a parking space, why can't you produce $1 million income if you need to? See, the universe doesn't care what it is. It doesn't matter whether you're asking for $1 million or you're asking for a parking space. It is the intention and the vibration in which you link. Now, when you're driving around, you really want a parking space. And it happens. But then your realm of believability ceases when you're trying to get that job or that whatever it is that you think is too big. It's all what you can see and feel, and can you link your consciousness up with that field of God, of possibilities, of infinite possibilities. So whatever it is, we still have to harness the power of creativity. And when we touch that, then the synchronicities begin to happen. And we can begin to practice, in creating these things, developing your consciousness. Tap into and dwell in this field of limited possibility. We have to learn how to harness the power from where? From within. There is no power out here for you to get. Somebody else isn't holding your good. You hold the key. It's up to you. So we've got to learn how do I harness? If the entire universe resides within me, how do I harness and tap that? Start practicing that. Stop thinking out there and start going within. That's why I love the Soul Sync meditation, because it really is helping us to vibe with the consciousness of limitless possibilities, to feel that presence within us. And the first 4 steps of the process is just about getting the mind and the body ready to dwell in the 5th and 6th steps, which is to dwell in that place of energetic presence. And so we breathe, breathing for, in case some of you don't know quickly, I'll just say you breathe consciously, deeply for 8 counts. And then we move into a humming like a bee. You do that 8 times, and what that does is it's stimulating and vibrating, waking up your being, waking up your third eye, waking up the body and the spirit, helping them to come into harmony. Then the 3rd step that you do is you focus your mind by then noticing for 8 counts the pause between the breath. You breathe and you notice the pause. That is helping your mind to what now? Focus, to be centered into noticing the pause in the breath. And you do that for 8 times. And then the 4th step is you begin to silently vibrate in this chant of aham. Anytime you say ah, you know that's you're calling forth the living spirit, the living energy. You can't say ah without breath. You can't say Abraham. That's what happened to Abraham and Sarai. There was Abram, and God said, no, your name is Abraham. So that every time you speak your name, the breath of God will move for you. So when we say, aha, it is I am one with that one. I am one. You do that for 8 counts, 8 times. Aham. Aham, that's the 4th step. And once you've done that, the 5th step is you begin to then stand and sit and relish and tap in this field of consciousness, of energy. You begin to feel your consciousness expanding. You allow yourself to be filled with light. You feel light entering your body, and you feel your consciousness moving out from the little defined place into the infinite. You're growing infinite, 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 light, 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 and you vibrate at that level. You hold that thought, but it's more of holding that feeling. And as you hold that feeling, the more you're able to hold it, the greater it grows and it grows and it multiplies until you are just in this field. You are resting and vibrating in the field of limitless possibilities. This is the field of creation. This is the field, the substance of God as a living reality. Where? In your being. And you feel it, you vibrate. It's not a thinking process at this point. It is a being process. What did it say potential was? It is the inherent capacity for coming into being And when you're in this state, you have come into being. You are in the presence of being. The being that is all. The being that is God. The being that is you. The oneness that you are in that field of being. There's no separation. And once you dwell here, dwell as long as you like, because it'll feel so good. But once you dwell here, from that place, you move into the sixth step of then decreeing or asking or seeing or visualizing the thing that you are bringing into manifestation, that you want to bring into manifestation. So you see it, you rejoice in it, you feel the energy, you're celebrating, you see it as if it already what? Is. Because it already what? Is. You touch the already isness of it. When you touch the already isness of something in consciousness, it already is. And then the last step is just to give thanks and to celebrate and to see yourself having, being, doing, expressing, living, whatever it is that you're holding. I don't know what it is, but you know, and you can create and think for whatever it is that you want. But you must see it and feel it. It already is, because we're talking about syncing our consciousness with God consciousness and then feeling it. What I said before is God is a presence. And the presence is what? Felt. You can't see the presence, but you can feel the presence. God is that presence. And so once we're there, vibrating and syncing our consciousness with the one consciousness of all that is, and we're vibrating at that high level, we see it, we feel it, we feel the vibration of fulfillment, It is done, it already is. You feel that, then it cannot help but coming into physical manifestation. This is the unleashing of the power of creation. This is the unleashing of that power into our lives, and it lies within us. We have to stop sitting around wishing for our good to come to us. It already is. You simply draw it forth from within. Stop wishing. I told him stop praying out here to God, to something. It already is. Pray from that. Call forth from that presence, that power, that vibration, that fulfillment, that thing which is already. Pray from there. So the power of creativity and manifestation is in your hands. And the universe is simply waiting for you to connect. So link, sync, feel, see it, rejoice and celebrate that you already have it, and it shall be what? Yours. God is the source, but you are the channel. Let it flow. Namaste and blessings. Namaste. Namaste.